Welcome to the Weeknight Mysteries podcast. My name is Eurus and I'm here with my co-host Rain. How are you today?
Hello, yours. Hello, everyone. I'm feeling completely great, as always. How are you?
I'm pretty good. Today we are recording in a different location, so hopefully the echoes and the environment is not gonna infringe on the quality of the regular recordings. And today we want to touch upon another case coming out of Byron Bay. If you can recall, a couple of podcasts ago we talked about a very strange death of a 25-year-old backpacker. Well, I guess not really a backpacker, just a free-spirited man named Jackson Stacker, who has been found north from Byron Bay with a 30-centimeter
Hunting
knife embedded in his chest, and his skull had been also, I believe, 30 meters or 30 centimeters. I can't really recall at the moment.
I believe meters.
Meters away from the rest of his body, which was a very strange manner of, let's say, remain location, because it was deemed to be a potential suicide. And that case definitely has some people thinking that maybe it wasn't a suicide. Maybe Jackson Stacker did not commit that. But I know we will have to
Do we need to
probably
bleep
cut
it
out.
Yeah.
No, I will cut out the self-harm the wording that we used, because actually YouTube hit us hard on the podcast where we talked about Jackson Stacker. We did not expect, but YouTube did not like some of the words that were used.
Yeah, if I remember correctly, whenever I clicked on that video, I receive a warning. Like, would you like to go ahead and watch this video? There are self-harm contents.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, that's basically what's happening. If you say the wrong words a little too much, then you will get penalized. But it's okay, because we are creative people and we can find a workaround. All right, so other than that, today we're going to be talking about Theo Hayez. Theo Hayez, 18-year-old, fresh high school graduate who was on a trip to Australia for a gap year, meaning that he finished high school, and before he wanted to study engineering, Theo wanted to spend time exploring Australia. Because he had extended family members there, it was kind of convenient for him to fly from Belgium, where he is from, all the way to Australia to hang out with his cousin and just live a backpacker's life.
Do you think... do we have any information if this was his first trip abroad, first travel experience, and so on?
I have no information about that, but from the way that Theo kind of handled himself, I would say he seemed like he was
doing it for a while.
Not necessarily doing it for a while, but I got the impression that Theo was comfortable doing such an adventure. And Byron Bay is a very, let's say, touristy location in the northern part of the New South Wales state in Australia. It gets apparently more tourists every year than there are residents, and the real estate prices had gone through the roof in that location because of its scenic location. It's basically like a paradise of sorts. You have the beach very close by, you have this small touristy town that has a pretty vibrant nightlife from what I'm gathering, and that's exactly where Theo Hayez decided to spend the last portion of his Australia trip. So he went to this town of Byron Bay, and he arrived there on Wednesday, May 29th of 2019. So let's remember that Jackson Stacker, the man that we have discussed previously, he was found dead or murdered, whatever you want to believe happened to Jackson Stacker. He was found dead in 2021. So we are going back in time. If there is some sort of a strange connection between these two cases, that would mean that Theo Hayez was the first victim of, I don't know what we should say, a serial killer roaming in Byron Bay that's potentially looking to harm backpackers or people just vacationing in that part of the state.
Young individuals.
Young individuals that seem to be vulnerable at times, And he checks in to a hostel called Wake Up Hostel. Wake Up Hostel is a nice hostel in Byron Bay. It's not actually, it's more of a hotel than a hostel.
Oh, wait, so it's not necessarily like the cheapest in that area. Because I remember traveling for a little bit and I met a bunch of backpackers and they would always like choose like the cheapest option. You know what I mean?
Of course. I mean, that's the spirit of backpacking, right? Trying to just survive on pennies.
Spend as little as possible.
Yeah.
But it wasn't, right?
No, this was not the case at all. Actually, I had to look into it. I'm not going to lie. This looks like one of the... I've never been to a hostel before, but this definitely looks like a hotel to me. You have individual rooms and shared rooms. So, Theo Hayez actually got the individual room. So that's already seems like not a hostel at all. On top of that, I have some pictures here in our file of the hostel. It basically, if I'm not mistaken, in the back of the hostel, they even have a pool. They let you use their bikes for free to bike around town.
Oh, that's pretty nice of them.
Exactly. And they also have a shuttle bus. A shuttle bus is a bus that they have that will, on a regular basis, take inhabitants, the people that are staying at the hostel, to the city center of Byron Bay, because this hostel is a couple of kilometers out of the city center. So if you don't want to walk there, they will drive you to the city center maybe every couple hours and drive people back at a certain point.
It's not what I expected, actually. I was expecting like a small building, but by the looks of it, it looks like a house.
Yeah, it looks like a big house. And actually, what you're looking at on the file that I have here, the footage, the images, it's not even everything that's included. There are, I think, multiple other buildings, maybe like 2 other buildings in the back, and there is a pool, if I can recall correctly. So it's a big operation here. And people love this hostel, and I can definitely understand why they enjoy it, right? Now, he checks in on Wednesday, and that was, as I've said, May 29th. Now, he was supposed to leave by June 3rd, so if I'm doing my calculations correctly here, he was only supposed to stay in Byron Bay for a couple of days, right? Because June comes after May.
Yes.
So he was only supposed to stay there for a few days. And something went really bad on the 3rd day that he was there, on May 31st, Friday.
Basically the last day.
No, he was supposed to leave on June 3rd.
Oh.
So he had a couple more days left. He was supposed to catch a bus going back to Sydney so he could fly back home. And that's crazy.
Isn't it like 9 hours away from Sydney? I read somewhere that it is.
Something like that. It's multiple hundreds of kilometers away.
Oh, jeez.
Yeah.
The patience.
The patience of that. They had long bus trips. And I think you and me, like, we know exactly. We had, like, let's say, a work trip recently also on a bus for, like, many hours.
We tried, and it was awful.
It was horrendous. At least the buses that we have here in Lithuania. It was trash.
And we've only been there for like what, 8 hours?
A very short period of time, and then another trip back.
And I can only imagine like Byron Bay to Sydney.
Yeah, we basically went from Vilnius to Warsaw, the capital of Poland. It was a nightmare in that bus. Like your palette of different smells that start coming out, like the bus shakes a little bit, and then you smell the last person's like bathroom break. It's,
Okay, we have to go back.
So he was supposed to basically go back to Sydney and then fly back home. That was the setup.
It's a crazy trip, honestly. He planned to take a 9-hour long bus trip and then catch a long haul flight back to Belgium.
Yeah, but I feel like he was 18. So
Adventurous.
Adventurous, and I think this was maybe right up his alley. His cousin, Lisa Hayes, whom he spent a huge portion of this trip, because she, I think, was from Sydney. So he first went to Sydney, and then he spent some time with Lisa, the cousin. Said that he was a very kind of calm individual, but also very adventurous, and he was not into drugs. He did not do drugs, according to Lisa Hayes, and she said that he was a good person, a nice person, easy to kind of make friends, seemed like he can handle himself pretty well, and he wanted to kind of enhance his like spiritual connection to the world during this trip. And I would say that the point I'm making here is that he was not into the drug scene at all, according to the family members. So now let's jump to Friday, the day when everything kind of kicked off for, basically for everyone, because now the mystery begins. Friday was a very cold night in the middle of the Australian winter. In fact, it was the coldest night on record for May and June in Byron Bay. Theo, he had already made some friends at the hostel, because even though he was living in a single person unit, there were people living in like multiple people units, and he already made friends with them. He actually made friends with another Belgian person. So what a coincidence, 2 Belgian people just staying at the same place. Quite strange, but he made a friend with there. And this friend and Theo, they catched that shuttle bus into the town early in the evening on a Friday. Then they went to the Northern Hotel's bottle shop. So there's a hotel in the city center, and I think it has a alcohol store in the front of the hotel where you could just go there and buy some alcohol, like a
regular liquor store.
Yeah,
basically.
Regular liquor store, exactly. We even have CCTV footage of Theo and his new Belgian friend.
Okay, quick question: did this Belgian friend ever was ever interviewed, stepped up?
Yes, they all were talked with.
Oh, okay.
And I don't think anyone really found them suspicious. So that's what we're working with here, that the friends that he made, I guess they were
innocent,
even though there is some strangeness happening later on in the case when apparently they do not report him missing for a few days, something like that.
Yeah, that's pretty strange, but I don't know, hostels, maybe since people just come and go, and maybe people just, like, I don't know, stay a bit longer, may have had that policy. It's like, okay, let's wait a couple more days-ish.
Yeah, that's the general explanation about that whole thing.
It's still pretty odd, though.
Yeah, it is. So now we have a very cold day here, and we have the 2 guys. And we have the CCTV footage here. We're actually looking at it right now. At least I'm looking at it right now in the file. And they seem completely normal. So Theo Hayez is the guy wearing a dark hoodie, a Puma cap, light pants, and black shoes. And the two of them, they proceeded to buy some cheap wine.
Wine.
Yeah, they
It's
bought.
not even hard liquor.
No, not super hard, just cheap wine.
Yeah, so even if they drank, they're probably most likely just a little tipsy.
Yeah, I'm not sure how drunk would they get off of that
Right.
wine. Good point. After they left the store, they caught the shuttle bus back to the hostel.
Hostel,
Yeah. And they shared that wine that they got with other backpacks in the common area outside. Apparently, no one really liked that wine because it was not good. And
I can imagine.
yeah, and apparently not a lot of people even drank it. Even Theo and this Belgian friend, none of them really enjoyed it that much. So they kind of just were like, whatever.
Okay, so I'm assuming, just completely assuming here, that that cheap bottle of wine was shared by multiple people. We don't know exactly how many, but they did not like it. And I don't think any one of them got tipsy. Maybe just a little bit of alcohol in the system, but I don't think it's enough to get them drunk.
I think that's fair to
Right?
say. Yeah. After hanging out with the new friends that he had made in the hostel, they all actually took another shuttle bus going back into Byron Bay city location. Makes sense because it was a Friday and it was a bunch of young people, so they probably just wanted to have some fun.
Yeah, and this was after the wine, right?
After the drinking of the wine. And they stepped out at Cheeky Monkey's Bar, a well-known backpackers bar in Byron Bay. We have some images here of the Cheeky Monkey's Bar, and we also have CCTV footage of Theo entering the bar with the hostel friends. Cheeky Monkey's has a bad reputation around town. In the early 2000s, it was ranked as one of the most violent bars in Australia, and every Byron local you meet seems to have a strong opinion about this particular bar. More recently, it was purchased by a reputable company that runs multiple bars and pubs across Australia, and it is slowly losing its bad reputation. However, we are, I guess, still considering that it may have a bad reputation, but the thing is that on that particular night, Cheeky Monkeys reported being about quarter capacity. Seems like not a lot of people went to Cheeky Monkeys pub that evening, and it was also the coldest day in Byron Bay on the record. It was a very cold day there. So I kind of understand why a lot of people didn't want to go out. Maybe a lot of people didn't even have the like the clothes ready to go to a pub.
Oh, yeah.
In that part of town, because if you would look at what the people are wearing outside, everyone seems to be wearing like light jackets and like thick hoodies, not necessarily very like freezing
Weather freezing friendly.
clothes, but seems like maybe a lot of people just didn't want to go out that night.
Definitely. I mean, come on, if you're used to warmer weathers and you had the coldest night out of like in 2 months, would you actually want to go out? Of course not.
Probably you wouldn't want to go out. And I'm thinking, what does that mean for the case here? Because we know that, at some point, Theo Hayez will go missing here. And we know that he will be kicked out from this pub shortly after. So what happened next was he was allegedly, went to the bathroom a few times, then was dancing on the tables, but with
Dancing on the tables?
yeah, but with other people.
Oh, okay.
So I think it was a normal thing to do, but what, as I understand, happened next, one of the security guards at the bar noticed that he was kind of wobbly a little bit, and they presumed that he was drunk. even though I think the people that he was with say that he wasn't drunk, but maybe it was just assumed that he had too much to drink and was intoxicated. The bouncers that basically kicked him out or like escorted him out of the bar, they said that he was polite and nice, but that apparently they think that he was too drunk to continue partying.
Now I wonder what his alcohol consumption was before this incident. Like, did he used to drink a lot or not at all? Because he could have actually been drunk if he wasn't used in drinking a lot.
That's a very good point. I'm not sure because this never came up, but what if this was the first time he drank in general?
Well, exactly, right? They had that cheap wine, which nobody liked.
Exactly. So what if this was the first time he actually drank in his life?
Then that would mean that he would easily get drunk, and he was already drunk when he got kicked out. But if not, and people claim that he didn't seem like he was too drunk, and I don't know, I'm just once again assuming that this bar had a really bad reputation. Could there have been drugs involved?
Well, that's actually exactly what I was gonna ask.
Oh.
What is the likelihood here that someone maybe slipped something into a drink? Because I think he did have 2 alcoholic beverages at the pub. We don't know exactly what type of alcoholic beverages he had. I think it was maybe like a beer. I don't think it was like strong alcoholic beverages. But the question is, and I know that like he went to the bathroom a couple of times. Is there a situation happening here where someone puts something in his drink as he's in the bathroom? Now he comes back, he finishes his drink. Now he's under the influence of some sort of a strange drug that was put in his drink.
Yeah, exactly. I'm also thinking, could it have been intentional?
Yeah.
Intentional or not?
But why? Why would you try to do this? I mean, this is,
Do you think there's a scenario wherein he intended to actually take drugs? Or not necessarily?
I would probably lean towards no. Just because of how his family described him. But you also never know.
Yeah, he was 18. He was young, free, in the other part of the world. Do you think there could have been a possibility wherein he was like, okay, let me try?
I think there is a possibility, and I know this is not the line of thinking that the friends and family want to believe, and this could be completely inaccurate. But when you're 18 and you're about to leave, and this is basically your last Friday in Australia, and maybe you haven't done anything like that the whole trip, but maybe you want to experience something
once and done
right before you go on the last Friday out. You just want to have some different experience.
Yeah, of course, this is an unpopular opinion and
no, it's not
assumption.
I would say it's probably not even an opinion that we have. I think it's just
a line of possibility.
Yeah, it's just another possibility. And actually, if I had to bet, I would probably say that this is not what happened. Because I think I just don't sense. I just don't. After looking at this case, I just don't think that happened. But I think it could have happened. So it's a line of possibility, as you said. Either way, once again, the people that escorted him reported that he was polite but wobbly on his feet. They left. The security staff escorted him at 11 p.m. in the evening. And there was a debate about how intoxicated Theo was, with multiple witnesses claiming that he wasn't drunk. By all accounts, he hadn't had that much to drink, and he wasn't aggressive or causing any issues. CCTV footage later captured his departure from the bar and also documented the last known time Theo Hayez was seen alive. And we have the stills and some footage here from the CCTV cameras around Byron Bay that captured Theo walking out of the bar, and then he really soon after leaving the bar, he made a very strange, like, direction. So we could see that he is on his phone in one of the still images here on the CCTV, and I think he was Googling how to get back to the hostel. Now, two things are strange to me. The first thing is strange that his friends at the pub, well, okay, maybe not that strange, but I would like to mention that his friends that were still at the pub, they didn't realize that he had left already.
I'm under the assumption that these friends were not really like friends.
And they weren't going to stop having a Friday out.
Yeah, these are more of like in the moment friends, acquaintances. You know what I mean?
Just recently newly met people.
Exactly, and there's probably like a group of them. They met new people. It's a huge thing, and so maybe Theo and the friendship is not that deep yet. The connection, it wasn't that deep. And so when Theo got kicked out, it was like they didn't even notice.
Yeah, that's true. Another thing is that the staff at the bar, they didn't let Theo go back and tell them that he was kicked out.
Oh.
So that was also
that's pretty bad.
Kind of bad on the staff part. Regardless, up to this point, there was nothing particularly notable about Theo Hayez or his 2 days in Byron. Until recently, it was assumed that Theo, after he left the monkey bar, what was that, Cheeky Monkey, sorry.
Chunky monkey.
Cheeky Monkey pub, he walked back to the hostel. That was assumed, and that something happened on the route going back to the hostel. So the hostel is actually 2.5 kilometers away. It's a 6-minute drive by car. So there was a sizable distance there, that's for sure, but definitely not something that any teen-year-old, backpacker shouldn't be able to cover, in my opinion.
What happened to the buses?
The shuttle buses?
Yeah.
Maybe that was the last shuttle bus. Maybe they weren't going back after 11.
And so Theo just decided to walk.
Yeah.
I don't know, it's pretty interesting. Didn't they have like night buses or something?
Maybe they do have buses. Well, maybe they do have buses in Byron Bay, but this was a particular shuttle bus that was part of the hostel.
Oh, the free one.
The free one.
Oh, okay, I get it, yeah.
Maybe it was gonna come back at like 1 a.m.
Nah, I mean, in this case, I think there's like a last call time because, they also have staff
that need to go to bed and can't just keep working all day long.
Exactly.
There was some blurry CCTV footage at a nearby petrol station that seemed to support that he was walking towards the hostel, and apparently it was a fairly easy walk from town, because the city itself is not big, and if you follow the bright lights and signs, the hostel is actually remarkably easy to get to. Theo left the pub at 11 p.m. Then CCTV footage shows him walking off into the darkness of Kingsley Street. From there, we know that he messaged several of his friends using his mobile phone. It is almost certain that it was him sending the messages, given that they were written in French, his native tongue, and were typical of his style of writing. We know that he watched part of a YouTube video at some point. We know that he sent a WhatsApp message to his stepsister about 1 a.m., so that's 2 hours after he had already been kicked out of the pub. We know that he used Google Maps multiple times to search for the route back to the hostel, so it seems like he was just walking back and trying to send some text messages and was even watching a YouTube video at one point. We also know that he walked in the opposite direction from the hostel, and this was very strange, from Kingsley to Tennyson Street. And he actually even apparently went into a youth activity center, and I think there was a cricket stage or like a cricket field that he actually entered for like a short period of time. And we also know that he afterwards started walking very quickly at some point all the way to a little bushy road called Milne Track, yeah. And this is so bizarre because I'm gonna basically. Do you have the file open? I wanna show you a few things. I have like two maps here that kind of explain the bizarre way he was walking. I'm not sure if you could find the first map that says like it's like Google Streets map.
115 Johnson Street and going to wake up Byron Bay.
Yeah, exactly. So this is the route that he was supposed to take. So if you can see, right after leaving Cheeky Monkey's pub, he was supposed to head north, right? And then continue walking west until he reaches the hostel, right?
Yeah, it doesn't really look that intimidating.
No.
Definitely walkable.
Definitely walkable. And then look at the other map below. This is his actual route. So instead of walking north, he proceeds walking east immediately. And then he ends up walking through a very strange, bushy grassland. And that was bizarre because that apparently the Milne Track is not a tourist destination or anything like that. It's basically for locals that know the place. And then he didn't even take the exact track. He started walking completely through the bushes and seemed like he was heading straight to the edge of Cape Byron Beach. And it was a completely opposite direction from where he had to go. And his last known location apparently seems to be somewhere in the top of Tallows Beach.
No, it kind of makes sense.
Okay.
At least for me. Maybe it was still early. He got kicked out of the bar. It was his last day in Australia before heading back to start his...
Not last day, but last Friday.
Last Friday, sorry.
Last Friday, yeah.
Sorry. And then he was planning to head back. Maybe he wanted to be spontaneous, I meant. Maybe he wanted to go to the beach a little bit. The size of that city is very walkable. Maybe he just wanted to take a little breather, go out to the beach for a while, and walk back. So far that decision is not really weird for me.
You know what the weird thing is? Is that he has only been there for 2 days. And he already knew of a very less traveled road to the beach that only the locals take, and then he was able to somehow traverse at a very high speed off into the jungle, off into the trees. Like he went into the tree area where no locals, where no backpackers ever go, especially not in this high pace of speed.
Is there a possibility that...
Last thing that I want to also add. At some point he loses his cap and doesn't even care because his Puma cap, was later found. According to DNA tested on 2 pieces of hair follicles that were recovered from the Puma hat, because it was the same exact looking Puma hat, it was a match according to some Belgian media. So they even found his hat according to Belgian sources, and he didn't apparently even want to pick that hat up. He just lost it somewhere in the jungle and just proceeded to walk through an area that you wouldn't go. It's not like, a big touristy location. He would be going there completely alone.
Well, sounds like he was being chased for me.
Some people think that maybe he met someone else, some other backpackers, potentially, or locals.
Yeah, 1 second. Is there a possibility that this route that you were talking about, the locally known route, was or somehow appears in Google Maps?
That's actually a good question. I didn't even look at it. So what appears in the Google... Oh, actually very nice.
Because he was looking at the Google Maps. What if he's... You know how sometimes Google Maps have this weird route that doesn't even make any sense?
Oh, yeah. I think we all know. I think we all have those Google Map experiences.
Yeah. What if Theo was using Google Maps and it showed him that he followed it, and then while he was on that path, he encountered maybe an animal, maybe a syndicate, maybe a person, a bad person with bad intentions, started chasing him, and he ran, kept on running, lost the cap, adrenaline pumping, he needed to save himself, didn't even care, kept on running towards the bushes.
Yeah. Actually, I never really thought about it, but you just made so much sense to me, because if you would look again at the file one last time, and if you would look at the last map that we have, I just noticed that I did find the mile track on the Google Maps, and it does like show you the location, if you can see.
Yeah.
So as you can see, it looks like the track, this lesser known track, it is on Google Maps, but as you can see, it kind of curves. But if you would go up a little bit to the second map that we looked at, he kind of just dodges the track completely.
Yeah.
And then he proceeds to walk. Now, the only concern about this theory, this that you brought up here, is apparently as all of this was happening, he was still sending messages to people. Apparently, he messaged his stepsister and...
Anything alarming?
No, nothing alarming. Just regular texts. Apparently, he messaged one of his friends about an upcoming U2 concert.
Okay, that doesn't seem very out of the ordinary.
Yeah, so the only thing that, I would say about the theory that you put forward, it's actually something I didn't really consider and kind of makes a lot of sense. I'm not sure if it works...
Matches the timeline.
If it works with the timeline of like his calm and peaceful messages that he was sending. But it did seem from the speeds that he was like reaching that he was running fast. So I'm only concerned about whether or not the data, the Google Maps data, is really accurate time-wise, that we know for certain that when he took the detour off of that lesser known path, that he was still sending messages. Because you're completely right. This guy even lost his backpack, his cap. So he either was really intoxicated or on some sort of a drug that he didn't even notice that his cap was gone, and he just kept texting and walking and texting and walking through like bushland and
running and texting.
Or was he actually running from someone
Or something.
Something into the through the bushes?
Because personally, if I was out for a walk late at night, there's no reason for me to go through the bushes, I wouldn't go. Because why? Are you trying to be adventurous just to cross the bushes? No, not necessarily. But if you're in danger, then you would.
You don't care. If you're in danger, it's go time. You're gonna just
jump right in there.
Dart straight towards anything just to kind of get to safety. Yeah. Maybe he's trying to lose someone, because I feel like if it was a situation where someone else was approaching him from the other side of the mile track or whatever, then that would mean that why would he even take this weird route into the bushes? Why wouldn't he just not run back to Byron Bay? So I don't think that he saw some, Australian goons approaching him from the end of the track. I think it was either someone following him from the back and he just decided to kind of dart into the woods to kind of get away from these people, or he was with someone and that other person suggested for him to go there, or already it was kind of getting weird and he wanted to lose these people that he just met.
Possibly, yeah. Do you think it's possible that he was walking towards that weird path everything was still calm, and that's when he sent those messages.
Yeah, I think it. As I've said, I didn't really like try to pinpoint exactly at which time he's like sending the message, because I think it was not necessarily easily like describe this information. So
I can imagine.
I'm not sure. I'm just not sure how credible that is at this point in the story. But yeah, that's strange, right?
Really strange. I'm really convinced that he did not take any drugs, and it's not the outcome of the drugs or like the side effect of the drugs, but I really think he was chased or something happened in there. Something that threatened him.
So his phone went offline at around 1 a.m. as well.
Do you think it was like no batteries? Low battery? No signal?
I have no idea.
Was his phone never found? Last thing?
No, I don't think his phone was ever found. The cap was the only thing that was found. Theo did not return to the hostel. He didn't board the bus back to Sydney, and he didn't catch his flight back to Belgium. Theo's mother began to worry when she did not hear from him for a couple of days afterwards. While it was out of character, she was understanding that sometimes he wasn't able to get mobile coverage. 3 days later, the alarm was sounded and Theo was reported missing. The search began promptly after that, but unfortunately the trail was already growing very cold, so it took them some time to just even start searching for him. It's not like they searched the next day. We have some further information that we want to kind of put out here. The hostel did not report Theo missing until 3 days after he was meant to check out. His room was apparently left unbothered. There has been much criticism of their handling of this, but it tends to be quite distracting from the case. People go missing all the time in Byron Bay for a few days, and they always end up coming back. They usually just go to a party or something like that. So it seems like the hostel may have just thought that, Theo was out on a party or something like that.
Because when you stay in a hotel, for example, they have very strict like checkout rules. By 12, by 11 sometimes you have to be out and about, because there's housekeeping and you need to pay your bills. And I'm just so surprised at how this hostel was just like, okay, this one of our guests did not come back for 3 days, let's just assume that he will, and we'll charge him more. And where's the housekeeping? Shouldn't
charge him more? So I think he already paid. I'm under the assumption he already paid before he even checked in.
No. I meant like the extra 3 days he was missing.
Mm-hmm.
So are they just assuming that his stuff is just here with us? He's still going to be staying longer, and we'll just wait for him to come back and he'll pay.
I think they were just thinking, okay, this guy has like 3 days until he has to check out. He's missing right now, but I guess he's just out somewhere.
Oh.
And then when he was supposed to check out, that's when they reported him missing. That's my understanding. Like,
okay. I completely misunderstood everything.
Yeah, once they had to like get the new guests into his room and they saw that this guy has his whole stuff here, that's when they reported him missing.
Where's the housekeeping though? Aren't housekeeping people supposed to clean their room every day?
In a hostel?
Yeah.
Maybe not. Not hostel.
Yeah, potentially.
I don't think it's a hostel. I think maybe this would be happening in a hotel, but not in this situation.
True. Okay. The hostel is a little less suspicious for me now.
I don't think there's anything shady about the hostel, honestly.
Yeah, because I thought that they did not report. I thought the checkout date of Theo, he did not check out, and then they waited 3 days until they reported it.
No, I think it was a different scenario where like he paid for the 3 days, so if he's just not there for the 3 days, I guess they don't really care.
But they reported him missing on the day that he was supposed to check out, but he
didn't. He left.
I think
his
they
stuff.
made a good move there, like the proper move.
Yeah, I mean, you're not gonna chase this person just because he's not there.
Yeah, I mean, he already paid for the room. and he just didn't go home. I mean, I don't know. Your business is just for the room.
Yeah, and I mean, everything's paid for, so I guess you don't have to stay.
It's not like mom and dad's house,
Yeah,
right?
and you're an adult. It's not like they need to make sure you're in bed by a certain hour.
Home at this hour, sleeping on
Yeah.
the hostel bed. I think they're okay.
They're okay.
Yeah, they're not shady.
The Byron Bay community banded together and organized search efforts. They were active in sharing flyers and information about the missing backpacker. When Theo's family came to town, they organized free accommodation and food for the family. Everyone in Byron has kept close tabs on the story. It was big. Like, there's a 60 Minutes Australia about this case. Theo Hayes' case was, I remember, like, just a couple of years ago, I remember, like, seeing a lot of YouTube videos about Theo Hayes' disappearance. A lot of people kept talking about this case, so it's a big case.
Yeah, it's always a massive case when there's like a foreign national involved in a certain country.
Yeah,
Right?
I think so, yeah. Because apparently in Belgium, this was a big deal also.
I can imagine.
Most of the search efforts apparently centered around the wrong areas. As far as anyone can tell, Belongil and the lighthouse. Belongil is like the portion of Byron Bay, as I understand. I'm not really sure what that is. And the lighthouse is actually close to the beach, close to the location where he was last seen. But the time it was realized where his path actually brought him, the trail was very cold, because I think it took time for his mother to access his Google account. And only after that they were able to see where he actually went. So for a long time, they just were assuming that he went somewhere else.
And that's terrible.
Yeah. Theo's gray puma cap was reportedly found in the bushland near Tallows Beach. The family is confident that it belonged to him, although DNA results have yet to be released. However, DNA tests carried out on the cap as part of the investigation into the disappearance of the Belgian tourist Theo Hayez in Australia suggest that the cap did belong to him. A source close to the case told Belgian news agency, which is a Belgian news source. So I was actually trying to understand whether or not the cap was proven to belong to Theo Hayez. And it's not like this information is out there in the open, but there is some Belgian media source that claims that the DNA came back positive, because there were 2 hair follicles in the cap, and the hair matched his family members' DNA. So apparently there was a link made. So it must have been Theo's cap, and the cap looks
I
identical.
mean, it's so obvious.
It has to be his cap.
Yeah.
So we think that his cap was also there.
I wonder what's the crime rate in Byron Bay. Is it a fairly safe city to walk around at night?
So there's strange undertones of like criminality allegedly
Drugs,
happening
right?
there. Yeah, drugs. And there are some Reddit posts claiming that there are some strange, weird things happening in Byron Bay. Because Byron Bay is like the resort destination in New South Wales. It's like a place where a lot of people go, and I think there's some criminal stuff that could be happening there. There are a lot of missing people cases or strange death occurring in the area. We already talked about Jackson Stacker, which
Yeah.
was pretty bizarre. It didn't happen in Byron Bay, first to say, but it happened
Within
very
the
close,
area.
within the area. And now we have also Theo Hayes, who went missing in a strange circumstance. So I don't know. Online sleuths, though, are combing through Instagram and Facebook data, hoping to find any clues about beach gatherings on that particular night. It is highly likely that if Theo did meet new friends that night, they'd be long gone from Byron, with no idea that he disappeared. This started reaching the attention of former Byron travelers might be the key to solving this mystery. So, I guess they didn't find any
Of course.
Facebook
yeah.
information about no gatherings, because it's been like 5 years, so I just assumed that they're still they couldn't pinpoint, they couldn't connect the dots.
Yeah, the fact that it's a tourist place, it's pretty bad.
because a lot of those people are long gone.
Yeah, like come and go, come and go. Even the people involved.
What if someone, caused the harm to Theo, and
They just went.
they just went back home to their country and never just decided never talk about it ever again?
Okay, just one question for you.
Yeah.
I mean, I already know the answer. It's pretty obvious, but do you think there's a possibility that it was self-inflicted? The S word.
I don't think so.
Yeah,
What do you think? You also don't think, right?
definitely not.
Because what could have happened here? Theo went to the beach. So, what does that mean? Did he go for a swim and then drowned?
Probably just took a breather, like beach are very calming. Maybe just sat on the sand or intended to just sit on the sand.
Yeah. But why though?
And we also have to remember that it was the coldest day. So there's no way he would have swam.
Yeah, it was the coldest day. I do agree that there's probably a less likely chance that he actually went into the water.
I think it's just...
So where did he go? How does a person then just disappear? Like he was his phone was off like at some point, and then there was this whole beach, and it was his last day, last Friday in Byron Bay, and he just got kicked out of the pub, and he just spent 2 hours walking around in weird locations, and then he just went to that location. I think he was with someone. I'm thinking that he definitely was with
met
someone.
up with someone? Or
Met someone new at night on a Friday. A new backpacker group. Maybe he was actually trying to walk back home at a certain point, but then maybe he met some new people, and these people were like just saying, "Oh, we're going to the beach," and then they all went to the beach. And then what happened next? Did he just go for a swim, drowned, and the other people just forgot about him, or just didn't even notice that he was drowning, like the people that he met at night in Byron Bay? Or maybe they actually murdered him, and he lost his cap at some point.
And
So
remember, he was running, or he was walking very
maybe
fast.
they were all running or something. Maybe they were all running from something else. I don't know, just so strange. But something is very, like, I'm even getting goosebumps right now because I don't understand what happened next. Like, after he goes to the beach area, I don't understand what happens next. Like, so I just kind of have a weird gut feeling that something bad happened. And I don't...
Yeah.
I have a weird feeling that it wasn't an accident either.
No, definitely not.
No, it could have been an accident. That's the thing. Like, I think there is a likely chance that it could have been an accident. I just somehow feel bad about this case because it doesn't add up to me. The guy didn't have that much in him, like, and he didn't that much alcohol in him, and didn't seem like he was that drunk, per se.
Do you think his remains are still in the area?
I think there might be a chance that, sometimes it's strange. It is strange that after 5 years they didn't find his remains. But if they're somewhere in that, like, bushy area, I think they could be missed. I think there's a chance that Theo's remains are there.
What about animals, though? I'm not particularly familiar in what kind of wildlife that certain part of Australia has, but do you think there's a possibility that his remains could have been taken away by animals?
Yeah, I think so. I think they could have been taken away.
Because remember, they were searching the area that's like the opposite of where Theo was last seen, or where the cap was found. Maybe during that time the case went cold, and maybe the remains were already, like, taken away by animals. I'm not sure.
That's also a likely possibility, I think. At that point, the animals could have scattered his remains. But yeah, I would just like to end this podcast with saying that I think there is something for me. I don't know what it is, but I just feel kind of weird. I kind of feel weird, and I feel like something bad happened to Theo.
Definitely.
As he walked out of that brush, he sent this last text message. His phone was turned off, and I just feel weirded out, like that something bad happened at
Do
the
you,
beach.
do you think there's a possibility that he was being chased? He lost his cap, and then whoever was chasing him caught up with him and turned off his phone?
Yeah,
Oh, jeez, that's creepy.
I think that could have been the case.
That's so scary to even just think about.